So good afternoon, dear friends. Thanks for being here. I am surrounded by some wonderful speakers that are going to debate the path of Iran to a free and secular society, democratic society, and we are focused on the Iranian youth and this path for freedom. We have been discussing here in the European Parliament several declarations, we have several resolutions, and we see with a lot of concern the increase of executions in Iran. We see the destabilization of the Middle East. We see the path of Iran on this creation of external enemies. And so we are going to navigate this discussion with wonderful speakers, and I will have the help of Neda to help us through this debate. Neda.
So thank you very much. I also extend a warm welcome to all of you to today's discussion, and I especially want to express my gratitude to you, MEP Guerreiro, for providing us this valuable opportunity, and also commend you for your compelling speech last week at the urgent debate on the high execution rate in Iran. I'm eagerly anticipating hearing the diverse voices that contribute to our conversations today. So while we understand that our discussion only scratches the surface of 45 years of oppression and tyranny, we aim to highlight the crucial insights throughout our questions. So I will propose that we begin by briefly introducing ourselves, and then Mr. Guerreiro, you can proceed with the initial questions. So, Virginia.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Virginia Pishmin. I'm an activist for human rights and especially women's rights. I'm living in Sardinia, and I'm half Persian, half Italian, half Sardinian. I'm a doctor in a hospital in the center of Sardinia, and I'm here to aim in my way to the situation and to change the situation in Iran. Thank you.
My name is Vida Amani. I also want to thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here with you, all of you. I'm 37 years old, living in Switzerland. I'm an architect, and I was 1 year old when I left Iran alongside my mother, and my father was in prison that time. It was hard times that we lived, but so I was born in this struggle for freedom and democracy for Iran, and in my free time I'm trying to be the voice of the Iranian people and do my best for them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Musa Tawedi. First of all, thanks for having us here. I'm electrical engineer, firmware development. I'm working from Cologne, Germany, for an American company. So both my parents were activists during the reign of the Shah of Iran, and when he was toppled, they keep fighting against the new tyranny of the Ayatollahs, and I was born inside this resistance, so to speak, and I spent my free time also to support the Iranian resistance and try to help the people of Iran achieving the goal for the free, democratic, secular Iran.
We have online
Farbut. You can introduce yourself, maybe.
Hi, my name is Farbut. I'm 39 and I am currently living in Germany. I was born in Iran, Tehran, and I came to Germany when I was 3 years old. I am currently policy and advocacy advisor for a child rights organization.
Thank you.
And Neda, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't. My name is Neda Amani. I was born in Switzerland. I'm Iranian, and I'm a project manager in a solar energy entity. But I can more say I'm a I'm a human rights activist and for the cause for the for freedom in Iran, and I try to be the voice whenever I can in my free time for the Iranian youth and also the Iranian women. And we also have a Iranian youth organization in Switzerland where we try to raise awareness on the human rights violations in the Swiss Parliament or at the EU or also at the UN. So I'm doing a lot of work and awareness work too.
Let me jump on your role as a defender of human rights and ask you that what's the situation today in Iran, because we saw that a lot of protests have broken out since the assassination of Mahsa Amini. But this is not new, but it kind of sparkled that flame of revolution, change, that freedom path that the Iranians want. How's the situation today in Iran?
Thank you for this very important question, because everyone thinks now Iran is no more a lot in the media, so it's calm, but actually the people in Iran, and especially the young and the women in Iran, continue their fight and their protest despite any repression. So, but they are now acting more underground because of these repressions. So I want to point out here especially the formed resistance units inside Iran, and these are cells of 3 to 4 person in every town, in every village, and their activities are more like they writing slogans on the walls. They burn down banners of the regime leaders such as Khamenei or the General Soleimani, who was a common enemy of not only Iranian peoples, also the Syrian and the Iraqi people. So they are reorganizing themselves, and this is for injecting new hope into the lives of the ordinary people. So also to make the life difficult for the Iranian regime leaders, so that they are 24/7 alert. So and they know they have they know very well that they have something they want the control in their hands. So they are faced with this resistance units every day. And yes, this triggers and in the society and sparks new protests, new uprisings, which till now ends fatal for the Iranian regime. And as we see also today, there are everyday strikes in every social aspects in Iran, from teachers, patients, students. So every little social demand of the people is turning into the demand to overthrow this regime. So this is one very important point to see. So the Iranian people knows very well that this regime is not reformable. They say no to this regime as a whole. So this is the current situation, is like the fire under the ashes, and it can erupt any time.
Yes. And connecting to what you said, Virginia, the number of executions are on the rise. We have dire reports of the situation in Iran, especially after 7 of October. The developments, the tragic developments in Gaza. What does this mean? Why the numbers are rising in Iran?
So thank you for your question. We can say that in 2023, the number of execution is increased from 36%. We just have like 864 executions. And in this last 3 months of 2023, after the 7 October, as you said, we arrive at 360 political prisoners and prisoners dying. Well, it's not by coincidence that the Iranian regime has increased these executions, and mainly because they fear a recurrence of the uprisings. And the main reason of Khamenei team up with the proxies to launch the war in Gaza was exactly this. So to distract the global attention from inside Iran to elsewhere in the region. This, for example, is the same frame we got in early 80s when Iran moved the war against Iraq. And to distract the people, the world from the inside, the inner problems, and in response, in fact, inside with a massive wave of executions that we remember, like 1988 massacre, where in 3 months 30,000 political prisoners were executed, among them people that have already finished the sentence, and pregnant women and children. And the most of them were members and supporters of PMOI, that is the main group inside of the National Council of Iranian Resistance. And the same policy is taking over in this period. If you see, they could execute more, especially because they are like putting smoke in the eyes of the international community. And the reason that needs to do these executions is, of course, because the regime is on his last legs. I mean, is very is rotten, weak, fragile. Is not. We could think that is kind of powerful, that he want to express. Doing these mass executions, or improving the instability in the region, but is the exactly expression of the weakness, because the doesn't exist a power of terror, doesn't exist a policy of terror like a strong policy. The strong policy take and give stability to a place. And improve the opposite things that they are trying to improve, so fear and cruel actions, I mean. And so these killings, anyway, will create and is creating more anger among youth, among the population, and they will backfire against regime. So is in a final countdown, I guess, I think.
I wanna catch up that last thought that you shared. So internally, they are oppressing freedom fighters.
Sure.
Externally, they are creating an enemy.
Sure.
To overlook the internal problems that
Sure.
they have, controlling the population that is not happy, obviously.
Exactly.
And this connects me to the solutions. So Vida, we do understand the trends, but how is the Iranian youth and Iranian women and the Iranian community pushing for a solution? Because we have several variables, it's not an easy equation. How are you planning? How do you see and you promote this solution that has to also be political? How can we be guided to this solution-based approach?
Yes, this is a question that occurs many times, especially now when we have a lot of protests inside Iran. Many countries ask this question: what is the solution? You don't want a monarchy, you don't want the mullahs, so what is the alternative? And I can say that there is an option and there is an alternative. The Iranian democratic opposition had formed shortly after the mullahs had hijacked the Iranian revolution back in 1979. The Iranian opposition had formed a parliament in exile, which is a coalition of different Iranian democratic groups, opposition groups, and this is the National Council of Resistance of Iran, which is led by Mrs. Mariam Rajavi, and she's been invited to the European Parliament many times, and she presented a 10-point plan for future democratic Iran, which guarantees the most fundamental pillars of a civilized and a prospering society, and such as the separation of state and religion, the abolition of the death penalty, equal rights for men and women, and also especially the rights for women to participate in political leadership and also to choose their own clothing, the rights of ethnic minorities and also religious minorities. These are like the fundamental rights that like a democratic society is based on. And this is also what Mariam Rajavi and the National Council of Resistance of Iran have been presenting and in their program. And I'm sure that every Democrat would agree on these points.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to read on the points proposed, and I think it's really interesting for us not to have a vacuum of power if certain events occur in Iran, and they have the possibility of showing the citizens that there's an organized opposition, a democratic process, and that obviously can have a period of turmoil, but the elections will be made, the democratic values will be pushed in a way that is very open, and so society can freely choose their leaders. And I think also we'll get caught up on that also. For a woman to be a leader of this group is also very relevant, and it shows the credibility of this movement. But I will go to Musa and trying to understand how is the movement organized. Obviously, we don't want to know the details, or else this could not be an easy task for the ones that are organizing. But how are you managing, for example, also is the importance of international community on this organization, the credibility? Give us more insights on this.
Yeah, first and foremost, the Iranian resistance is well known as well organized, and this is also a point which makes them like the worst enemy, or let's even say the only enemy of the current regime. And I think the fact that they are that well organized and have this high endurance is because of the commitment of their members and their sacrifice, which they are willing to do for the freedom of their people. What I have to add is that this resistance is fully independent. It doesn't receive any monetary support whatsoever from any foreign government. It wants to remain independent. It relies basically only on the people of Iran or the Iranians inside and outside. Inside, it organizes the resistance units, and outside, it tries to collect money through fundraising, where ordinary Iranians, such as myself, participate and organize gatherings and so on. It is really, it's nothing without the people, and therefore everything it's doing, it's for the people. And yeah, this is one.
And you're also organizing to fill that vacuum that may occur, and so you have to be organized. Yes, you have to have the structure.
Yeah, being organized is a key point, and this is, as I said, this is the main reason why the regime is so terrified.
I think that's I think that's a good point, because the question is, what everyone has to ask themselves is, what does an alternative needs, right, for the future in Iran? And so we have here with the NCRI an alternative who is based, as Vida said, on a program with the 10-point plan, and they have an organization of well-organized structures. So you need an organization, and you need a program or an agenda for the future of Iran. So if you have this, and you have supporters from all over around the world, and especially in a network inside Iran. So this is the best solution or the alternative we have. So I think, this
But
is a
I
very...
will also caught up on what was said here by Vida and connects what we are debating. It's the leadership.
Yes, and the leadership.
And
I
the
forgot it.
leadership.
Very important.
That Hijabi is a woman, and so when the West, I don't like make generalizations, but when the West looks at this Persian country, this region, it always feels like it's very autocratic. It's very men top down, with the structure of a very hierarchical man in power. And so to also see the woman having a role in leadership, not only by the leader Hijabi, but also from the youth, this also sends a signal. And so what's the role of women and young leaders in Iran and outside of obviously Iran, but they are playing a huge role, right?
Yes, so I'm grabbing this question so I answer it. So this is very well and rightly pointed. So it's this can of course not be a coincidence that the women are leading these protests. They played a very active role by any uprising during the past 4 decades and for the Iranian freedom movements. So in fact, this is the reflection of the role women have played in the leadership of this resistance movement for the past 4 decades. So I have also to point out that the Iranian women is not just fighting in the 4 decades for their rights. It's actually 120 years of fight always for having their rights during the monarchies, during now the theocracies. So the Iranian women always have to stand up for their rights. So, and the role of the women can best seen now in the role, as we talked about, Mrs. Mariam Rajavi, who for the past 3 decades have been the president elected by the Iranian resistance, and for the future transition government after the fall of the mullahs. So she's not just like a star or whatever. She also has have had give a lot of sacrifices by herself. So personal sacrifices. Her younger sister was killed by the Shah regime, and her second sister was killed by the mullahs regime for their activities. So she is herself had experienced this mullahs and all this cruelty on her own body, on her own family, and she's in fact considered the most threatened women in the world today. So she's actually the #1 target of the Iranian regime. Terrorism, the misinformation, the slander. So the leadership as a woman is very like a threat for the regime. So this is why it is very, for myself, actually very beautiful to see a woman in this. Yeah, it's very inspiring, and to have a woman in the role. And I can say, we at this table, we all look up to her because she is, for us, as I say, a source for inspiration and encouragement. So
I had the opportunity also to
yes,
talk
I
to
hope
her.
it
was very interesting.
It's a big symbol.
Yeah, and I think also it shows that there's a change that really needs to be made on Iran, and the citizens are ready to embrace in this new challenge that is democracy with all of its flaws, but
they are paying the price.
They are paying the price, and they want something better. And there's a common thread here when I listen to your stories, is that a father or an aunt or a grandfather or someone from the family suffered from this regime, and so they lost parents, they have to immigrate. So there's a lot of pain in this history. but also the movement is sharing that there are new rights that citizens will have. Vida, can you concretely state what are these rights and how can they project themselves into citizenship, and what will the citizens really gain if there's this change?
Yes, as I said before, like the National Council of Resistance of Iran sees the only criterion for future democratic Iran in the ballot box, where different parties can participate and all the minorities can have a voice, can, like, all those minorities in ethnic or religious groups, that they have the same rights and that they share in all areas of life or in the society, also in policies, of course. So the ballot box is like the only criterion that we see as a possible, you know, tool in the future Iran. So, and of course, this ballot box is also based on all these points that I have mentioned before, like the abolition of the death penalty, equal rights for all women and men, separation of religion and state. This is like something really fundamentally important for future Iran, so we don't go back to
history.
to the same.
We have to
Monarchy.
evolve.
Yes.
Evolution.
I think this
So
is a
I think
very-
these are the very fundamental rights that we need, that the Iranian people need for a prosperous future.
Feel free to jump in if you have anything. I will also touch after on the ecological part because we had a
Yes.
small conversation. I
Yeah,
think it should be interesting. But going here to Musa, we have two elections coming, if I'm not mistaken. So we have the parliamentary election and another for the Assembly of Experts. For those who are listening to this, what should we expect from this?
It's a little bit ridiculous to call it election, but basically you have this parliament, Majlis, and members are, there's elections for the members, and you have to imagine the Iranian Majlis is like the candidates, they want to go in because they can get bribes, money, benefits, incentives, and so on. This is just for self-enrichment. And there is this Guardian Council which monitors, or let's say it filters the candidates who are allowed to participate in the elections for both Majlis and the Assembly of Experts. So what is funny is that this time, basically, even candidates which are like up to 95% loyal to Khamenei were sorted out. So Khamenei he wants to sure that the candidates are 100% loyal to him. Even
In a tyranny, there's not even that is questionable. But yeah, 99.
we have like the previous President Rouhani or Pur Mohammadi. These are really people who are loyal to the regime, but still, since Khamenei is not really sure, and he wants to make sure that his son will, when he passes away, when he dies, that his son will take over the.
So he's coming back to a monarchy.
Yeah, exactly.
Kinda
Yeah, absolutely.
a mixed.
It's at the end. He wants to make sure
regime.
that
power.
all candidates that can win seats in both in the assembly or in the majlis, that they are more than 100% loyal to him.
I will go to Virginia to talk about a bit of environment, and then Neda, if you could also afterwards enlighten us on the role of the IRGC, so the Islamic Revolution Guard. That would also be interesting because there's the question of should they be in the terrorist list of the EU. But first on the environment, we are facing a climate crisis. Iran is a producer of oil. but it can have huge opportunities on the transition to a clean society. Also, these thoughts are being made inside this democratic process. How are they being debated? Because it's very relevant also for the youth, and Iran could be an example, no, on this transition.
Iran could be an example of green solution because if you can imagine that from an hydrological point and from you can imagine that is 5 times bigger than Italy, okay, with a region completely different from each other, and we faced on all these years how the regime destroying the human life basically was imbalanced, destroying the environment, and all the the problem that we have from the flood of just 2-3 years ago, and the complete destruction of big lake, and they stole the water to the people, and so we can see how the regime polluted Iran. And by the other hand, I saw with my eyes, for example, in a city of resistance in Ashraf, how they use alternative, like we were called how can we say, the community. Yes, we were talking about Sardinia just 2 minutes ago, about the community, the electrical community, and they created this 20 years ago, just to understand how evoluted could be a group of people that has sacrificed their life, but in showing that if you want to achieve something, you have to, if you want to achieve, you can do it honestly, paying a price. This what was
so technological is no problem, and also there's real.
Yes, because if you want to defend human life, first of all, you have to defend the environment life.
It's interconnected,
It's
of course.
interconnected.
I'll jump into the
but
Islamic
maybe
Revolution.
let me add something.
Sure. Feel free
I
to jump in.
You know, we have in the whole Middle East or the region there is a natural dryness since over 900 years. It's natural. We know it's getting drier and drier because of the sun and the ozone layers. But one very important fact is the mismanagement of this regime in these areas. The dictatorships in the whole area, like in Syria or Iraq or Iran, and this mismanagement leads to to worsen and fasten this natural process in a shorter time, you know. And in Iran, especially, we have a lot of environment activists in jails. They just imprison these people. While they're going, maybe there is a flood or there's something, they go there for their research, and they go and imprison them because they don't want to expose the sort of the regime. So also the nuclear program of Iran, they use the water, like the rivers, they cut them off to colden their uranium, so or their nuclear cells, facilities. They use tons of water, and they mislead, like they cut down the rivers to their facilities. And it's not only the Iranian villages and peasants who are suffer from this dryness, it's also Pakistan, Afghanistan, the other countries around who are for years have the water for their
close to
and it's a vital resource.
Yeah, and so they fasten this process.
So going into the Islamic Revolution, guys, just.
Yes, I don't know if
I just want to add that also pollution, air pollution. In Tehran, if you do a search in the internet, what city has the one of the worst air quality.
Air quality, yeah.
It's Tehran.
Yeah. True. Tehran is-
These mullahs, they cannot manage anything.
And so it will also be interesting because we do understand that you have a national resource that is oil that has to be channeled through the economy to also make this shift to a decarbonized society.
Absolutely,
But
yes.
that's not being made, and
That's
so the
not-
money is just being
there is-
used to concentrate power, concentrate wealth, and bribe other countries to play along with the
If you
geopolitical.
want to shift to sustainable energy, you have to make some investments. And this is absolutely not in the mind of the Iranian regime. They will get the money, enrich themselves, so the environment is not even in their scope to save it or whatever.
I
It's
can,
the opposite.
sorry, one example for this is, as you may know, Sistan Baluchistan is one of the biggest, it's the biggest province in Iran. So Sistan Baluchistan has also a lot heat, like the sun is very well there. So it would be actually a very good place to have alternative energy, solar energy. But the regime don't want to invest in this area because
Empowers
the
people.
yeah, and the Baluchis are Sunnis. They're not Shiis religious, so they're the one of like the first enemy of the regime, like the minority who is the most discriminated in Iran. So every sixth person Baluch didn't have any identity. Even they live in a absolutely like
Disaster.
miserable poverty. The regime hold them very like this,
Hostage,
just
like
yeah,
hostage.
low,
Yeah.
to not. They don't want that they develop or can get anything of this rich.
Going through this also, I don't know if you can enlighten us, but there's a lot of minorities. There's a lot of differences in the country that is big. How this democratic program can encompass all those changes, because there's a lot of sensibilities. In the north you have Kurdish communities, you have also Sunnis, as it was said, Shiites. How can this democratic process also includes those groups and show that it's a free and secular Iran to all?
I think, as I said before, like all those regions, all those minorities really need to have the understanding of a government that they have their rights, that they also have their seat. So all the regions should have like one seat at least, or like they should have the right to decide what will happen in the future for their own community or for the whole region. Or I think if we really can be able to put aside religion from political decisions, this will also enable us with more possibilities for the minorities. So, and I think it's really important that they get a seat, every.
This is actually a good quote because, as you may know, the National Council of Resistance, they have a program for the solution of the Kurdish people, like the autonomy of Kurdistan inside Iran. So it's actually one of the best solutions solutions for the Kurdish people. We have also the Kurdish Democratic Party, who also the Kurdish people say this program or this solution is for the future of Iran, the most considered one, right? And I think this is very important to that the people or the minorities. I'm not.
The groups,
I don't like
groups,
minorities because they are nationals of Iran.
same
It's like
country,
maybe we have
yes.
to. So this
Different
these
ethnics.
groups.
yeah, different
Different.
ethnics. Yeah, they have to have, as Vida said, part of the next or the future.
So
Iran.
Javi also said that this solution, which was back then was created for the Kurdish people, it can also be done for the Baluchis, for
Yeah.
other, for the
The
Ahwazis, for
Turks,
the,
yeah.
the Turks, for the Arabs, other minorities. Well, they have where they can speak their own language, they can teach their own language. It's schools,
Diversity. It's also
diversity.
cultural
They have their
diversity.
own parliaments. They have basically they rule themselves basically.
So we
Within
have
a
those examples
state
in
of
the European Union. So we have regions that
Exactly.
have certain levels of autonomy. They have even their own language.
Yes.
And so it's interesting to see that that path can
Like
also be
come together, but keep your
This is the
Trade.
richness, really human richness.
Yes.
And actually, it's very important because all these ethnic groups, they suffered not only under the mullahs. This is a very important point because they also suffered under the monarchy because the monarchy had no,
Suppressed all.
they suppressed all these ethnic groups like
No respect for other,
yeah,
for
like
diversity.
we know we are Azeris from the Turk ethnic group, so in this region, the people couldn't talk their own mother language in the schools, right? There are no books, no nothing. They have to learn Persian, Farsi, and there was a lot of punishment for people talking their own mother language. Imagine that. So these ethnic groups, they suffered a lot during the history of Iran.
whenever they speak up for whatever reason, then the authorities say these are separationists and they want to have their own country and they come in with the military or other suppression forces and suppress these people.
we are reaching the end of our time, but I think that we can have.
I think there
Farbod.
is
It's
joined.
online.
Yeah.
He joined online.
Yeah,
So let's
he
give him
joined
the
online.
floor.
Yeah. Let's
Farbu,
Farbot.
Farbot. Sorry, my pronunciation. Hope you are okay. Welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. I apologize that I'm rather late to this meeting. I'm at work, as you can see. I had to
Skip.
jump out of several meetings
Sure.
with
So
different.
let's give the floor to you. I'll just direct you a question. So, from the Iranians' perspective and the regime, what's the main threats that they are facing in your perspective?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. So, through the lens of the Iranian regime, the mullahs, what's the biggest threats that they face?
The people themselves. So the biggest threat for any dictatorship, any radical regime is the people. So as the Iranian people have shown multiple times, I think most prominently in 2022, when they were this close to overthrow the mullahs in Iran. So the organized opposition of the people is the biggest threat the mullahs face today.
Great, but they are supported by the Islamic Revolution Guards. And so my question will also be if, for example, the EU should insert them or inscribe this entity in the EU terrorist list. What's your thoughts about this?
Most definitely. Most definitely. So when I say the people of Iran came this close to overthrowing the regime, it's not that we need a particular help or support from outside, but what we need from the outside is to cut any relationship they have with the mullahs in Iran. For example, Germany is still one of the biggest economic partners with the Islamic Republic and especially with the IRGC, who are making most of the contracts in the EU. So proscribing the IRGC on the list of terrorist organizations in the EU would be a major step and a very, very important step for forcing countries to cut off ties with the Islamic Republic, with the Iranian regime.
So do you feel there's a contradiction when here in the European Parliament we pass all the declarations stating what is happening in Iran and the challenges we have the Sakharov Prize also to the Iranian people and in the end this doesn't happen. So we don't include this organization in the EU terrorist list. Isn't this kind of contradictory?
It is partially contradictory, but it is also due to the fact that politics and economics aren't always intertwined. So when I say Germany is the biggest economic partner of the Iranian regime, what I mean is that German companies, most of the German companies like Siemens, Hochtief, and MAN, Atlas, these companies have billion-dollar contracts with the Iranian regime, and maybe that is a factor why at least from the German side, there is reluctance to put the IRGC on the list of terrorist organizations. That is what I meant by that. We are, of course, very thankful for all the efforts you and other parliamentarians in the European Parliament are doing for the Iranian people, but there is always this economic side or the thing that we have in Europe where there are contracts still with the Iranian regime ongoing and the human rights situation. So what needs to be done in Europe is there needs to be a decision. What is more important? What is more important? Is it the economic situation or is it human rights?
For my group, the Greens, that's an obvious question because they are interconnected. So we cannot separate the real economy from human rights, from animal welfare measures, from environmental strategies, and so this is interconnected. I would just like to understand, because I'm a member of the Parliament, does this resonate in the community, the resolutions that we pass, these debates that we are having? How is the real effects on the youth, on the people that are fighting inside Iran of these actions that we feel that are very small, that are just conversations, but how do they reflect?
They reflect immensely on the work, especially the people inside Iran. They always look um, outside for support or for help or any sign of support from outside. And trust me when I tell you that I've spoken to people that knew more about the situation in Europe or the discussions in the European Parliament than for me, for example. From inside Iran, the opposition cells and the resistance units and ordinary people even follow very, very closely what is happening internationally, what is the international community saying, and especially what is the European Union saying, and what is the European Parliament saying about a lot of stuff. There have been multiple protests also from exiled Iranians in Strasbourg, in Brussels, in different settings the European Parliament had. So be sure that it is very, very important, especially for young people, what is the European Union saying, what is the European Parliament saying, and what is the European Commission saying.
Great.
Maybe I
Nader?
can thank you very much, Farbot, for joining us. Just for the context, Farbot is joining us from Germany, so this is why he mentioned especially the German connections and the economic ties with the Iranian regime. So yes, I just want to add to this, these resolutions were passed through the EU and the Council. These are very important political steps, but still it's very important to stand firm with this regime. We have the experience of over 45 years of a lot of appeasement policies with the Iranian regime. So that's also one of the main demands of the Iranian people. They ask the EU and the Council to stand together firm against this regime and to stand together and do not let appease through this farce of modernity of the regime, or also maybe the nuclear deal is one of these examples. So it's very important to stand together against this regime.
Sure.
So,
We are
yeah,
ending
yes.
our conversation. I will give you more than just listening to me and my conclusions. I think it's better to listen to your final statements. I would give you like 1 minute if you could share the main message. And I would also like to listen in your native language, because people that are in Iran probably don't know English, some of them. And wouldn't this be beautiful if you could just send a clear message from the European Parliament to the people that are in Iran, in English, in other language, but 1 minute for each, for you to just share your main message to the Iranian people. So I would start by Farbud.
Thank you very much. Maybe one part in English, and I will do the other part in Farsi, because I think,
Perfect.
especially in my line of work, I'm an advocacy advisor for a major child rights organization. We always listen to the people themselves. So before we make decisions, be it the European Parliament or be it in my line of work, it's very important to listen to the people. And for us, it is very important to listen to the young people in Iran. And I know that they no longer want this regime. They no longer want to be under the rule of a dictatorship, and they want the IRGC on the list of terrorist organizations. And maybe this part in Farsi, برای همه کسایی که از ایران دارن تماشا میکنن بدونین که از آن ماست پیروزی، از آن ماست فردا. I said ours is victory, ours is tomorrow.
What a beautiful language, let me say. So, Virginia, if you want to share your thoughts.
I would like to finally express my point respect to the international community to for sure put in the list IRGC and to recognize the big rights that have any people, any group of person to and in this case resistance unit to be legitimacy of the right of self-defense. They have to be recognized like a freedom fighting. Because if we don't recognize this point, they will be always terrorists. They will be always something that they are ruining the legitimacy of the regime. We cannot legitimate dictatorship, no more in this world.
Perfect, Vida.
I really I want to encourage the Iranian people to continue with their protests, and I want to tell them that we are here and supporting them wherever and however we can until we reach our goal of overthrowing this dictatorship.
Yeah. Musa?
What can I say? There's much to say. First of all, thank you for having us, giving us the opportunity to express our point of view. It's really important for us to have people like you who listen to us and care about the Iranian people. It's really important, and I really appreciate that. For the Iranian people, خلق قهرمان ایران میگم که خسته نشید. ما اینجا درسته که کنار شما نیستیم داخل کشور، ولی هر چقدر از دستمون در میاد سعی میکنیم که شما پشتتون خالی نباشه، که بدونید که ما کنارتون هستیم، تشویقتون میکنیم، سعی میکنیم هر کاری هست بکنیم که شما به آزادیتون برسید.
Neda, you have the final word.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for this very informative and very exciting discussion today, and also Farbod for having joining us here virtually. I just want to say, just imagine at the moment we are here sitting, there are people in the cells waiting for their death sentence, and they're in a death row. So while we are here talking, actually, at the center of all the democratic values, at the heart of the democratic values, there are people who are at the death row. So, and for what? They are there for having these privileges to can voice, to can be freely wear their clothes, can freely say no if anything is not their opinion, to have political can participate in political leadership, women. So it's very important to imagine that, and I think this is actually also our motivation to do that and to use our privilege to be here today. So thank you again for this opportunity. به هموطنان گرامی عزیزم تو داخل، ما همش در کنارتون هستیم و سعی میکنیم صدای شما باشیم و ما میبینیم که شما چه بهایی دارین میدین شبانه روز و کاری که ما اینجا داریم میکنیم این یه وظیفه است و کوچکترین کاری هستش که ما میتونیم انجام بدیم به شما. قهرمانان واقعی شماها هستین و ما با هم به آزادی و پیروزی میهنمون میرسیم. ما امید داریم و این راهو حتما ادامه میدیم. Thank you very much. I think it's also good if you can close this with a...
I don't know Farsi.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can do it in Portuguese.
Yeah, but I really appreciate the time that you spent with us, enlightening us on the struggles that you are having, but also reinforcing your courage, because it's very beautiful for me to be here and listen to the courage of you and thousands of people that are fighting inside and outside Iran to have this change to democratic, free, secular country that I think all of us will benefit. And this also shows us, democratic leaders here in the European Parliament, that we also must do more to help those who want to shift to this new paradigm. And count on me, and count also on the Greens to help on this path. And when Iran is free, I'll be free to go there, because I don't think I will be welcome now, but I will be later on. And so thank you again for your speeches, for your courage.
Thank you so much.
And let's continue the fight together.
Thank you
so
very
much.
Thank you, Farboot.
Bye, Farid.